Okay, everybody. It is Friday once again. We are going live
And we're together
in person. We're so excited. You look very festive for this month with the green on. Want to thank you guys for joining us today. I always love doing these live streams with Amber, but I want to take a special moment just aside to say thank you all for who joined me last Friday when I did my nighttime with wine, Ask Laci Anything live stream. And it was so much fun. I did it at 6 p.m. Miss Thing, I should call you, was over in another state speaking on stage about some fun things. And she was basically becoming a celebrity, right? Anyway, all that being said, super excited that you're joining us today. My name is Laci. If you joined me last week, thank you for joining. I had a blast. I was on for an hour, and it was probably one of the best live streams I've ever done.
Cool.
There were some great questions coming through, and I didn't have to sit there alone for an hour. I literally was like, please let somebody join in. I don't know who's going to come.
That's awesome.
So thank you for everybody that joined. My name is Laci. This is Amber, and we are always here every Friday, where we do our best to be here as often as we can on Fridays to give you information about the Las Vegas housing market, what's going on in the world that's affecting us here in our beautiful Neon hometown, and what you need to know so that you can make an educated decision as to when it's time for you to start looking for your home here in Las Vegas. If you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas, hello, how come we haven't talked yet is really what I'm wondering. We need to talk. Amber and I are very open and willing to have a conversation with you, even if it's early in the process. In fact, we prefer that because then we can build our relationship and get you in our system so we know to follow up.
And give you a game plan.
And honestly, we'd like to put you on a plan, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you who have never tuned in, this is going to be a fun one. I have to tell you something that happened to me last night.
Okay, tell me.
Laci
always has great stories.
Listen,
anytime you say it, I got to tell you something that happened to me last night.
I'm kind of hurt and pissed about something that happened to me last night. Let me share a few things. So just for full transparency, my father right now is in the hospital. I've been spending the last week with my father. Thank you. He's doing okay. But so if I'm a little down on energy today, that's why I'm a little exhausted. So I don't know if my reaction to this is because I'm a little sensitive right now because of what's going on with my dad, or if it was just blatantly not okay. Let me tell you what happened. So last night I was super excited, and I told somebody who I was chatting with, said, guess what? Tomorrow, Amber and I are going to be talking about DOGE, tariffs, and the Fed. And I'm just so excited. And the person's immediate reaction was, you're going to talk about the Fed? Ha, 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 ha. And then they like busted into like a genuine belly laugh.
So obviously he hasn't watched the channel because we talk about the Fed all the time.
All the damn time. We talk about this all the time. Why do we talk about the Fed, guys? Because it's what we need to know.
It affects our business.
And it affects you, and it affects our city. So I went, I got a little bit of.
Did you get the twinge?
I got a twitch. My eyes started twitching. I said, Laci.
Did you calm down?
I stayed calm.
With them?
I stayed calm, which is not like me. So I basically said that I didn't mean it like that. I go, oh no, you did. It's okay. So boo to you. So FYI, whoever the hell do you think you are?
We talk about it every month.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about it again. So just to be real clear, we are not experts on the Fed. We're not economists, right? We are not experts on DOGE. We are not experts on tariffs. But what we are is average American citizens who want to know what the hell's going on in our country and how it affects us and how it affects our job, how it affects you. I'm getting on a little bit of an apple box. What do they call that? A soapbox. I'm getting on a soapbox. Apple box. I'll get on that too. Because at the end of the day, the response that I got from that friend of mine who might not be a friend after, I'm just kidding. He's totally a friend. It made me think it's not even a personal offense that I should take to this. It's wow. Does everyone really think that it's that big of a thing that it can't just be spoken about and talked about in layman's terms for normal average people? And then I thought, well, hell yeah, that's what's happening. That's why the news talks to us like we're idiots. That's why politicians talk to us like we're idiots. That's why executives, people with MBAs, people who think they're smarter than all of us talk to us like we're idiots. So let's be average Americans together. Let's talk about the stuff that we need to talk about, and let's become educated even more, because we do this every single week, my friend. And I know you're watching. So that's what you get for putting me in a position of making me think that you don't think I'm smart enough to talk about this. Number one. And number two, that you think the American people are not smart enough to just know this stuff. So on to it. Thanks for letting me get on my soap/apple box.
I'm glad he gave you a story.
Man, I was so pissed. So we're going to jump right in though. So what we are going to talk about today though is we are going to talk about DOGE and tariffs. There's a lot going on in the news. Amber and I try to stay away from the news because neither of us like to have our brains infiltrated, because I don't frankly trust the news. Do you?
I don't want to be manipulated, but I always follow the money. And we're talking about economists. I can call the top economists
Yep.
in the nation
Yep.
and get opinions that are like fact opinions.
So we're going to talk today about some things that we know are they're on my mind, they're on your mind. We're watching these things very closely. So let's just talk about it like average Americans who know how to talk about smart things.
Let's do it.
Anyway, for those of you who are joining us live, thank you for joining us. If you're interested in working with us at all, our phone number is scrolling down below. There's also a link in every description of every video that we've ever done and the comment box. So there's no excuse. There's really no excuse to not get in touch with us. Okay, before we start, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. Are you good with this, Amber?
I'm good with this.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course I'm good with it.
Let's see. How do we do this? Let's go to, remove and then add it. What is the Federal Reserve? Let's make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Often referred to as the Fed, because I'm going to discuss the Fed. I'll get over it in a minute. I just need to ride this way. Federal Reserve exists to create control over our monetary system. If you don't know this, welcome to the club, because I didn't know this either until I got into this industry, because the American education system did not prepare me for this kind of stuff. I'm just going to be very real. Not Nevada, American. So with all that being said, it's basically the central purpose it's a dual mandate to maximize our employment, right? Make sure we're all healthy, employed, and getting money and working money through the system, and to stabilize pricing. So that's how, so we watch this on a daily basis, this girl on an hourly basis. God bless you. I mean, and every month we do the update for you guys, because what the Fed's decisions, the decisions that the Fed makes, affect all of the interest rates across the nation, not directly to housing, but it does down, they affect how, yeah.
So
will you explain how, just for short-term, long-term, just so people understand this, when the Fed makes a decision and say we're cutting rates, they're not saying they're cutting housing rates. They're talking about different loans, and then those decisions trickle down and affect the housing rates.
Yeah. So the Fed has a tools in their tool belt, right?
Right.
So they affect the housing rates, and then they affect the short-term rates. So they do a couple different maneuvers to be able to affect it.
Yeah.
So
short-term rates are like credit cards.
Credit cards, car loans.
Right.
Long-term rates, long-term rates would be like housing, 30-year fixed and stuff like that.
Right.
So when we're talking about the Fed, last year, because we, since we do this often, obviously
we do this often,
right?
Yes.
So let's talk about what we've been talking about before
for 7 years now.
Since he's confused, right? Okay, so
my friend's gonna kick my ass, by the way. Go ahead.
Last year we were always talking about how the Feds were raising rates, or we were anticipating them lowering rates, right? And then towards the end of the year, September, they did their first rate cut. And then right after their rate cut, our rates ended up going higher.
Yeah,
right?
Interesting.
And then November, they did another rate cut, and our rates ended up going higher. So there was so much confusion as to, okay, why would the rates go higher when they just said the rates are cutting?
Right.
And it happened every time.
Right.
Well, it's because what our markets are looking at isn't today. It's 3 months down the road and 6 months down the road, so that they're anticipating what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
And that's what's making up our markets, right? The anticipation of everything, which kind of goes with everything else we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So they anticipated, if we remember, this time last year, we did get on talking about the Feds, just so I could put that out there again. And they were talking about how many rate cuts are anticipated for 2025 right now.
How many did they say? 5, I think they said?
It was 5 or 6 rate cuts were anticipated for 2025. Then, because of all of the market movements and stuff like that, it was moved back to 1 anticipated for 2025. But now they're estimating 3 for 2025.
Now, let me pause you for a minute. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you happens. All of you, including me, prior to getting into this industry, would hear that and say, well, I'm just going to wait for the rates to drop before I buy a house. That's the smart decision. Everybody and their mom will tell you, just wait till the rates drop, Don't wait for the rates to drop for you to look at houses and start buying houses. The problem with doing that, especially in a market like Las Vegas, is that our inventory is really what's dictating what's going to happen. So what did I see happen last year? Everything went and dried up, because they were like, oh, I'm going to wait till 2025 to buy a house, because we're going to have 5 rate cuts. Are you kidding me? Why would I buy a house now and pay this rate when in a year I can pay that rate? When there's not enough houses on the market, those who go out and buy the houses before everybody and their mom comes off the fence, would it be 4.2 million people sitting on the fence waiting for rates to drop? Imagine 4.2 million people just jumping right back into the market all at the same time when you don't have a lot of houses to sell. What does that do? Jacks up the prices. And then the cost of waiting becomes tenfold, and you don't want to. We actually did a full presentation about that as well. We kind of know what we're doing here.
Yeah, we're going to just sit down with this
We're sitting
guy,
down with this
together.
person.
We need to tag team him because he's missing a lot of YouTubes, obviously.
So this whole stream is not to just talk about the Fed, but I do want to make sure we're clear about everything we talk about is going to come back to how does it affect housing. And we've always been mostly looking at really inflation, and which affects the Fed. The Fed affects the rates, right? So all that being said is our normal conversations with you guys are, well, what did the Fed say this month? What did the Fed say this month? It's going to be a different conversation today because the Fed is being, while they're independently run and are not supposed to be directly impacted by, Washington and not run by Washington, every decision made in Washington is definitely affecting how they're making decisions and what decisions they're making, right? Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. We're good. Let's move on. Oh, the one thing I wanted to say too, guys, is one thing we wanted to impress upon you during this is that we stay out of the news for a reason. And we're very selective with what we look at. And even when we look at it, we might share it here, but it's not something we truly absorb because bad news, by the way, actually helps our market for rates, which is really kind of sad. And you want to make sure that the bad news you're aware of is actually real bad news and not fake bad news, which is what a lot of the news.
So bad news outside of inflation,
right?
Because inflation is always going to be
inflation's not great.
But remember, the Fed too, when they're raising and lower rates, they're looking at that inflation. So everything we're going to be looking at is how it relates to the inflation.
So bad news meaning the jobs numbers, right? Oh, people are losing their jobs numbers, this and that and the other. When unfortunately, that has a tendency to make the Fed want to make up for that and make rates better so that the housing market will be stimulated, right? So bad news, unfortunately, for the economy, except for inflation, typically means good news for rates. But again, we are not waiting for rates to drop before we buy houses because that's not the greatest decision we could make. Okay.
Exactly.
Let's talk about tariffs. Okay. Tariffs seems to be the word of the year. DOGE and tariffs are the word of the year for 2025 so far. Amber, let's talk through what tariffs are. I know we've gone back and forth. There's 1,000 examples we can give, but like for me, my take on tariffs are basically it's the cost of doing business internationally with other countries. For instance, if Germany wants to sell something, some of their goods, services, whatever, to Americans, we will charge them for the honor of being able tariffs, right? For the honor of being able to sell to American citizens. We're already paying tariffs to many other countries. Am I right?
Yeah, there's a definite trade. Like there's a definite
an imbalance
imbalance with the trade. But I just want to point one thing out really fast. So remember, since this guy says we don't do this all the time. So remember 3 years ago when the rates started moving up, right? And then all of a sudden there's this new word out there called inflation.
Right. Everybody had to learn something new, right? Thanks, America.
In our lifetime, we hadn't lived when we were children, when inflation happened before. So then we all had to learn what this means again. And now we're pretty much experts on it, right? Because we've had to live through inflation and figure out what's causing the markets to move here and there. So now the new word this year is tariffs.
Tariffs and DOGE. I'm doged out, but we'll talk about it in a minute.
Tariffs and DOGE.
Yeah.
Because right now that's what's going to be moving our market.
Right.
And so when we're hearing things, I don't think honestly anybody's an expert of it.
No.
Because none of us have lived through this yet.
Right.
So this morning I got on the phone with three separate economists to say, okay, give me your opinion, give me your opinion, give me your opinion on this. The opinion of tariffs is they don't really know how it's going to affect the market because it's being used mostly as a negotiation tactic right now.
Right. And everything we're talking about today is how is it going to affect housing, right? So tariffs are simply the fees that we charge for outside non-American goods and services to be able to be sold and for that to happen in America, right? Vice versa. It's been imbalanced. They're absolutely being used for negotiation. That's the entire plan.
Yeah.
Let me just pause also real quick, guys. This is not a political statement. We don't have a side that we choose. It doesn't matter who we follow, who we do, who we voted for. None of this matters. What we're doing is just sharing information. So,
and every 4 years, we're going to do the same thing, no matter who's in, right?
So I want to go back to this though, because I think this is really important. So I looked this up today and we were talking about how do the tariffs that they're discussing affect us directly with housing, because they will be affecting us directly if they stand, right? So I saw this report. I thought, okay, why not bring this up? This was on CNBC. Again, I don't care who you follow. I don't care what you read. This was just an article I pulled up. Okay. So just follow me here. We've learned a few times now from different sources that lumber, gypsum, drywall, and some of the home appliances that we're used to seeing in new homes and things like that are going to be affected by tariffs, largely with Canada, Mexico, and China being large suppliers of that. I think you gave me a stat about Canada. about lumber or something.
Well, majority of our lumber comes from Canada.
Right.
I didn't realize this until the tariff talk, because we learn all these new things, right? So I didn't realize that our lumber, so builders building houses, that affects resale, it affects everything.
Yeah.
The cost that a builder is going to take to sell a house is going to then cause the resale market to go higher.
Yeah, they're not paying it for you. They're going to pass that on to you.
Everybody's going to have higher costs.
Right.
But majority of our lumber does come from Canada at this moment.
What they're saying is the new tariffs could increase and cost anywhere from $7,500 to $10,000 per home based on some of the things that we just discussed. The other thing too is that the greatest impact to home builders is most likely, just to your point, going to be the lumber thing. They're saying up to $5,000 per home on average across the nation. So that's kind of scary when you think about it. Like I'm already seeing new homes increasing over the last year because inflation, the other big word that we learned last year, inflation, 3 years, last 3 years. Sorry.
For 3 years.
I know,
It's good to have a new word.
I love having a new word. Thank you for the new word, DOGE and tariffs. No, sorry. Inflation had really caught and the rate increases and all these things that have been happening over the last couple of years have really caused home builders to have to get creative with how they're offering you incentives to buy the homes. And they're over there saying, oh, we'll pay your closing costs. We'll pay for this. We'll give you $10,000, this, all this stuff. What people haven't been realizing and watching very closely that we've been watching is that new homes used to be about this much. They were about the same price, a little bit higher with resale. Now, my friends, there is a very unique difference, very noticeable difference, pardon me, between the two. And that's going to only now increase. So buying a new home, which sort of to me made more sense. You're buying a brand new home. Why wouldn't you pay a little bit more? It's not going to be a little bit more anymore. It's going to be a lot more if this continues to go through for the tariffs, right? So that's what tariffs are. And that's what how they're going to affect us. What else am I missing on tariffs? Anything else?
So on the tariffs, so I have all my notes right here. Okay, so on the tariffs, if the because it will be inflationary, so then that if it does come through and it's not just a negotiation tactic, right? And we do have to pay higher costs to bring anything in until there's new like industries made in the U.S. or whatever. There's going to be pain, right? And then that
short-term
will cause
pain, supposed long-term gain.
Supposed short-term pain is what everybody's talking about, right? That will cause the prices of everything to go up, which is inflationary. So if the inflation goes up, then typically rates will go up with it. But so there's like a balancing act that's happened right there. So that's why the Fed, going back to the Fed now, right?
Right back to that Fed that we don't know anything about.
Yeah. So when we're talking about like inflation, right, and tariffs causing inflation, that's why at one point this year, the estimation, and remember, everything's an estimate, because if you asked us this time last year, the estimates were like 5 or 6 cuts in 2025, right? And then it went down to 1 cut in 2025. That's what caused our rates to go up, because they're estimating all that, right? So now that all this tariff talk is coming into play, and looking at what the cost could be, just like that article you just pulled up right there, like things like that, looking at what the cost could be. That's why now the Feds are talking about 3 cuts, because they're going to balance out.
Yeah. So the Fed is the referee.
They're going to balance it out. So like if things get too high cost, the Fed then balances out with cutting the rates both in, so we're going to see short-term rates, which would then equate to long-term rates. So they're the balancing act. They're the ones that are playing this balancing act to keep the economy from doing anything crazy.
It feels like the Fed, Federal Reserve, and all the people who work at the Fed are running a marathon that's never going to stop. Like it will never stop. I think there's always going to be something. They're juggling, right? They're the referees. So tariffs are definitely going to directly affect housing. In a lot of ways, right? For costs. So one more time, I just want to reiterate, if you're waiting for rates to drop, that would be a very silly thing to do, because you can refinance when and if they do come down when that time is right. Don't wait. Because of the fact that we already have low inventory, rates are not going to help you when it comes to those dropping, because everybody and their mom's going to jump on to try to buy. Here's another thing. Now that these tariffs are looking like they may very quickly start to affect the pricing of houses, one more reason, don't wait to buy. And this isn't us pressuring you to do anything other than to make a good damn decision for yourself. If you're thinking about buying, waiting to do that is really not a great idea right now. If you can get in, then you're getting in before all of these things start to truly come down to the bottom line and affect what's going on in our market, right? Let's talk about DOGE, Department of, what is it? Hold on, I just remembered it. I just lost it. Department of Government Efficiency. Sorry, I just went out of my brain. This is a new one for us. Department of Government Efficiency. So tariffs, 1, 2, check. Fed, tariffs, those are directly impacted.
But we're going to relate everything together right now.
The DOGE is something that's a little floaty right now. We all have seen Elon Musk in the Oval Office. We've all seen all these reports of all these weird, crazy ass programs that they're supposedly cutting. Like, I'm not even going to go into some of it because my mind is blown. But the reality of the situation is, how is it going to affect the housing market? Is it going to affect the housing market directly? Are they even focused on the housing market directly? Because when we were talking about the people, the two parties running for office, both of them had housing at a high level.
They were very focused on housing.
Right.
Housing is a big problem right now.
So one of the articles I saw recently was like, oh no, DOGE is going to take away all the free money programs and it's going to take away all of the grant programs that help people buy homes. Why would they do that?
I think that's fear tactics.
That's fear tactics. So one more time, don't be reading it, believing everything you're reading. Don't believe everything you're seeing. But that's something that's been brought up about DOGE. What else have you heard about DOGE?
Okay, so and ask it, because again, these are new words. So
Department of Government Efficiency. I got to say it 5 times.
Department of Government Efficiency. I have to go and ask the smart people, right? Like, okay, tell me the ins and outs of this, because I don't like to see just one side. That's why I can't read the news articles, because they're usually just one side. I have to see both sides, and like I have to follow the money, right? Okay, so the first thing is if there's jobs cut, remember, bad news is good news, good news is bad news, right? When it comes to rates. So if we're looking at bad news,
and they are cutting jobs, they're cutting
jobs. But when I'm talking to the economists, they're like, look, the amount of jobs that are going to be cut are so minuscule compared to like the amount of jobs in the United States. So that's probably not going to affect the market as much, right?
The only way it would affect the market is if you are a buyer who wants to obviously look at purchasing a home and you are one of those jobs that unfortunately is reduced, or the staffing that is reduced, that would obviously directly affect.
But rates.
But from a rate perspective, from a Fed perspective, from an overarching national and localized perspective, from a direct housing impact, the jobs they're cutting are not really enough to make a direct impact.
So that's not enough to make a direct impact. But so when you're looking at government spending, out of the whole budget, there's like 75% of the money that's stuff that nobody's going to be able to touch, right? And we don't want them to touch it. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, like all of those kind of programs is like 75% of the budget, right? But there's 25% that might be that crazy stuff that you're talking about, right? That we keep seeing on the news that we don't know if it's true or not true, because it sounds
I don't know what to believe.
It sounds too crazy to be true, right? So like there's that 25%. So if they're able to succeed in cutting some of that budget down, then that actually lowers our inflation, because there's less spending out there.
So it would help us.
It would help us if they're able to cut the budget by being able to cut some of that nonsensical spending that's happening right there. So with that, if I'm looking at this just on a high level and saying, okay, so if we have tariffs on one side and that's going to cause, I don't know how much pain. Like when inflation started, we were always told that this is short-term pain, and we're still feeling it. So I don't know. I don't know. Like when they say that this is short-term, like again, inflation was supposed to be short-term, and
short-term is relative. It's all relative. Yeah.
It's what, 3 years later since we've been feeling it. So like, but okay, so let's say that it's truth, right? And that's short-term pain that we feel from tariffs. But if at the same time DOGE is cutting some of that deficit, then we're cutting inflation here. So we should see a balancing act, just like the Fed. And then the Feds step in, and then the Feds are watching all the numbers as they come out, because every report, like today, jobs numbers came out and the jobs were softer than they expected them to be. So like all of this stuff, I don't think that everybody realizes how much they're working together. Like how much one does equates to the other and affects the other. Like everything is working itself together.
Does this live stream feel unhinged to you? It certainly feels unhinged to me, but there's a reason why it feels unhinged, because it's an unhinged experience that's going on around us. And with the news delivering all these crazy stories about DOGE and tariffs and who's running for president, who's not, all the chaos. Then we're here chaotic anyway, because that's what I am, delivering information about the Fed on a regular basis, because we definitely know about the Fed. We know how to share that with you. And then we move on to try to connect those dots for you. It feels unhinged for a reason, because it is, right? The end of the day,
everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's unhinged. So what we want to do is bring it back to a calm place. Thanks for sticking around. Maybe you're here because it's unhinged. I don't know. Bring it back to a calm place and let you know the Federal Reserve is going to do their damnedest to continue to play the juggling act, or the guy that's what's that guy that the pie man, the stick his thumb in a pie or whatever. Like, okay, it's not coming.
It's over my
It's
head.
like, it's where the guy's like balancing. Let's pretend
Yeah.
he's riding a unicycle balancing pies,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, the unicycle. Okay,
That's basically the Fed. They're balancing the pies. They're trying to figure out how to keep things.
And they are
even.
kind of riding the unicycle all the time.
Right?
Yeah,
They're riding I'm telling you, Jerome Powell's got riding a unicycle. He's got pies on his head. He's balancing.
But he's like a calm, cool, collect. You know,
like man.
sometimes where you're just like looking for him to get irritated, and you're like, "Ooh, I just saw it."
Yeah. So the Fed
Usually
is going to do the Fed.
irritation is with Trump too.
The Fed is fedding. The Fed is always going to be fedding. DOGE is doing what they're doing, and the tariffs are being utilized for negotiation and all those things. How they affect you does matter, though. And the real purpose of this message to you is the effect that it should be having on you is to make you speed up your questions that you're asking about whether or not you want to buy a house here or anywhere, and say, why would I wait for all of this to play out? Why would I wait for all this to play out if I'm relying on DOGE to maybe possibly do what they're doing and feel that effect 5 years from now, when I'm waiting for tariffs to hit and affect us possibly within the next few months or a year, and watching what the Fed's doing, and we knowing that what that's doing, how it's affecting us, which we're going to show you in a minute how that's affecting us. All that being said is we really just want you to just start being a little more educated. Watch us unhinged or not. Have fun. It's fine. We're having fun.
Yeah.
Whether we made any sense to you or not, it doesn't matter to me, as long as we know that someone might get a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And I hope that you're just thinking deeper and you're asking yourself the question of, don't listen to the news media. Don't listen to some podcaster. Listen to your gut and your heart when you say, wow, all those things are more connected than I realized. The government, whether it's in control or not of everything, it's still in control of everything at the end of the day. And you need to figure out what's the right time for you to strike and put your flag in the sand, so that you can stop being blown in the wind and watching rates for rent go up and new rules about housing and all this other stuff. Plant your flag in the sand, figure out when the right time is going to be for you, knowing all of this craziness, all of this unhingedness is happening, and let us know how we can help you. At the end of the day, we're chaotic for a reason, because this is what our lives look like on a daily basis now.
Because we're having to watch all this stuff, so we have to.
But we're doing it for you.
Then we have to figure out, how does this work together? And we realize that it all is working together as this little pie, as you want to call it. Yeah. Right, like circular. So it's all fitting together. The other thing too, though, is that if tariffs are put into place and like the stuff that DOGE is doing, it takes time.
Lots of time.
So right now we're looking at, like, today, it's not affecting today. It could affect 3 or 6 months from now, or a year from right now.
Tariffs specifically.
But even the cutting of everything, like, how long does it take to get that really truly done? It's a minute to be able to get that machine working. Like right now, it's just starting to be working.
You'd be amazed at how many. So I do hundreds of phone calls a month with you guys. So thank you again if you're interested in talking to us. There's a phone number at the bottom of the screen. I won't be as unhinged on our phone call, I promise. I just said a little perturbed last night about being told that being assumed that maybe I wasn't smart enough to talk about the Fed. I purposely don't try to act smart when I'm talking about the Fed, because at the end of the day, it's not about being smart. It's about educating you guys and letting you know that it does matter, and that you don't actually need to go and be an expert. We're going to sit here and try to do that for you. Yeah. At the end of the day, though, really excited about the opportunity to talk to so many of you each month, and you would be surprised at how many people I talk to that all the words that come out of their mouth are, well, I'm going to wait until. And if that isn't you get that raise that you're waiting for, or if that isn't until you line up sell your house or line up a certain number of things in your personal life that you have control over, to make your move to Vegas or make that purchase decision. It blows my mind. It blows my mind the number of people that are waiting for things that they have zero control over, like the Fed, like DOGE, like these tariffs, like inflation, like who's going to be the president, all the things that are outside of their control, but they're going to sit and wait while they watch the prices go up and up and up, and then get priced out. And it just makes me really sad, because I don't want you to wait. And I'm not here to pressure you, but I certainly don't want you to be waiting and then feel regret. Because I also get a lot of phone calls that say, damn it,
I wish I would have bought
3 years ago. I wish I would have bought 5 years ago. Guys,
or a year ago. I mean, it never ends.
It never ends.
Yeah.
January of this year, we are at $489,000 for our median home price in Las Vegas. That's 9% increase year over year. 9% in a market, by the way, my friends, that was soft. Last year was soft because everybody and their mom was waiting because they wanted those 5 cuts coming this year.
I have a zip code one that shows every zip code in the area, in the valley. Some of them are like
30%. One of them's up 30%.
One of them said 49, but I was like,
I didn't see that one.
Must be like a new one or something. But there's the hot areas of town were up like 12.
Yeah.
So I was like,
please
okay,
don't
this
wait.
is crazy.
Please don't
to
wait.
wait. Yeah.
Please don't wait. We would love to talk with you.
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you, just real quick, I want to show you something. This is a really interesting thing that Amber showed me today. For those of you who listen to other lenders who are less chaotic than us today, who say, you know,
are we chaotic today?
Hell yeah, I'm chaotic today. Listen, I got a lot going on. I got to go see my dad in a few minutes. But for those of us who get phone calls from you and say, well, what's the rate you can give me? Well, what are rates today? What's the rate? What's the rate? What's the rate? Let me show you what the rates look like on a daily basis. I'm going to take this banner away so you guys can really see it. On a day, this is a 1 day period of time. One day.
This is 1 week.
These sections are 1 day period of time. This is 1 week. We couldn't even show you the 1 day because it would be too hard to see. Look at so individually, there's a black bar that goes down the screen for each section of that week, correct? This is 1 day. In 1 day, those are the rates the changes in the rates, the volatility of the rates that happen minute by minute, hour by hour throughout the day. This poor girl is the calmest human I've ever seen in my life for someone who has to look at that stuff.
So this is like mortgage-backed securities, and that's what controls our rates.
Right.
So depending on what news is coming out that day. So when you're reading an article, like I just saw one today that said rates are at the lowest level they have been for like 2 weeks or whatever. That changes. Look at how fast that changes just by looking at the
second section right there. OMG.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. So this is mortgage-backed securities. So when they're higher, that's actually good. When they're lower, that's actually bad. But you can see how much the only reason why I wanted to pull this up is so that you could see the market movement on it, because it's crazy every day. Like there was 1 day this week that I saw 3 rate changes in a day.
Yeah.
Because the markets have to interpret whatever is coming out on the news, like whatever
decisions are being made, right?
Yeah, whatever reports are being put out that day. If it's jobs report, inflation report, spending report, stuff like that, they have to interpret it, and then they're putting it into bond markets or taking out of stock markets. So a lot of times if there's a lot of things out there. So right now we're talking a lot about the tariffs, right?
Anytime there's a new report or a new news story or a new this or a new movement, it's like a spike. This looks like a heart monitor or like a lie detector.
It does. It looks like so bad news is good news news is bad news, right? So like whenever there's bad news that's going into the market, the stock market becomes crazy because the stock market looks like that too, right? So the stock market becomes crazy and they don't want to lose money. So they put their money in something safer.
Right.
Safer.
Sorry, what would safer be, Amber? Where would you put your money if you want to pull it out of a volatile stock market that looks like a lie detector test?
Yeah. So that's the bond market. And that's what's affecting our rates is the bond market.
Right.
So like that's where you get that flight to quality is what they want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Where they're going to put the money somewhere.
I love that flight to quality. I actually never had heard that.
Yeah.
I had never heard that before.
See the things we learn, all these new words that come out,
Look
right?
at these words we're learning.
When we get to do different stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's where our market's being affected. So also what's happening in the stock market does affect the bond market.
Right.
That's where the bad news is good news is bad news. So all of this is kind of like one big circle where everything affects something.
So let's boil it down. Let's make this really easy for you. If you're just tuning in, don't rewind because it's chaos, right? But just stay right here. Here's the reality of the situation. The Fed is always affecting us when it comes, not directly, but always trickle down affects what we do when it comes to serve you, give you information about the housing market. What the decisions are being made by the Fed are, they affect us in a way that trickles into the bond market, which then affects our interest rates, not directly, but it does affect us. So that's number one. The Fed will affect us, period, end of story. It does in their own ways. Tariffs will affect us from a housing perspective, and it's not going to affect us positively. If they go away, great. That's, I guess, a positive thing.
Talk of tariffs is actually kind of affected us a little.
Tariffs as well.
Because that flight to quality, because people are putting money into the bond market.
Right. People want to put money in things that people will always need: food, housing, shelter, things like that. Housing is something that they're not making any more land, guys. That housing is a more secure bond versus something that's like, I don't know, buying Apple stock or something. I don't know. I'm just making it up. Although Apple, who knows what's going on with Apple? Anyway, so tariffs have already affected us and will affect us, and possibly not in the greatest way from a consumer perspective. DOGE is affecting us and can affect us positively if they do their job and we see that they're actually going to make that plan happen and succeed, right? But at the end of the day, it's all of this is out of your control. None of this is within your control.
It is. It's not in any of our control.
Right.
I've called 3 economists today, and I was like, so what are the estimates for 3 months from now? Nobody knows. That's why Fannie Mae estimates this year, like like straight down the middle, because they don't know either.
Everybody's
Nobody
playing the
knows
safe
how
game.
this is going to
Yeah.
be. Everybody's playing the safe game.
We're not playing safe. We got sassy today. We got sassy today on live stream. We're bringing you whatever the hell we know in our dumb girl heads that don't know enough about explaining this information. And it is a little chaotic how we came at you, but we really just wanted to make sure you guys knew this stuff is stuff you should be paying attention to. And if you don't feel like paying attention to it, come and tune into us every week. We desperately want to just keep giving you good information, good news, and honest, direct news that lets you know when we think you should make a move at the end of the day. If you're thinking about moving to Vegas, you want to buy a house anywhere in the United States, these things are things you need to be paying attention to, and don't just trust everything you read. I genuinely read a very, very, I think, well-known and very large newspaper write something that said something about how, DOGE is going to they're going to target free money programs and take away free money and free housing. No, they're not, because that's going to negatively affect the pursuit of the person in office right now. And that's not going to bode well.
And remember, when negative stuff happens, a lot of times the feds will cut rates to re-stimulate the housing economy. That's what they use to be able to help things.
Right.
So yeah, like to your point, if you're waiting for all of these things, there's always going to be something that you're waiting for. If you're watching this and you're thinking about buying, I think the time is always going to be now.
The time is just to talk to us now. If you don't do it for a while,
let's figure out your game plan and figure it out now, because we can't control what the future does. And we couldn't control it 3 years ago either, but we can say that 3 years ago when they said the market was going to do this and that and this and that, it hasn't. It's gone opposite.
And you know what it's done? It's done exactly what we said it was going to do. And it's exactly what we said it was going to do.
And if one of these things, like either the flight to quality or like government reduction of spending, happens, and it lowers inflation and rates go down, just like Laci said, those prices are going to go like this.
We have never been wrong.
Already seen that.
You know that? Before. And I don't mean like never been wrong in our lives. I've made some bad decisions. Don't get me wrong. We all knew. But I just mean when we do these live streams, guys, we when I say we've never been wrong, it's when I say low inventory means prices are going to go up, that has come true. I've never been wrong about that. That has absolutely come true. When we've said, looks like this is a good, juicy, crunchy time to buy a house because the market is soft with the number of buyers on the market. Guess what? It's never been wrong. We're getting juicy, crunchy deals for all of our clients during that time frame. When we look at this year and we say, people are going to still sit on the sidelines and wait for those rates to drop. And as soon as they drop, we're going to see 1 billion people flood to the market and want to buy houses. And guess what? The prices are going to go up. That has happened, right? When I say we've never been wrong, those are the moments I'm talking about. So when we tune into you here, we're trying to give you as much raw data as possible, even if it comes off chaotic. And we're trying to be very honest and direct with you. All of it, though, is to just push you to do more research and listen in and let you know we're on your side. And thank you for letting me get my beef off my chest today. Let me get you some exciting news.
I love it how that segmented into the whole thing,
man.
right?
I'm telling you right now, I didn't mean for it to take over the whole show, but don't laugh at me when I tell you I'm going to discuss something that every American should be able to very openly discuss and not be made fun of for thinking that they should be able to understand these things. And I know my friend didn't mean it. Let me just hold on. Let me go back to the full screen. I know you didn't mean it. I was just being sassy, but I thought this would be fun to kind of play off of for today. Guys, guess what? I'm going live again next Friday.
Are you gonna have wine too?
I always have wine. Where's the wine, girl? You should be having wine for me here. We are going to go live. It's just going to be me actually next Friday. What the F market update? You can ask me anything about the market or frankly anything else. We had a blast last week. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time once again. So if you're getting, yes, I'm going to be doing it at 6 p.m. once again on a Friday night with a glass of wine by myself. Clearly, I'm not dating. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. If you want to tune in, I would love to see you. I had so much fun with those of you that joined me last week. I also did a really fun, I don't know if you know this, but I did a live stream with Jacob from Jacob's Life in Vegas on Instagram. We were testing out yeah, we did. And we're going to be doing some stuff on TikTok. And we will be too. So we're just trying to get up in your face. If you can handle this chaos, then you can handle what's coming.
You got it.
But everything else we usually do is pretty buttoned up. Today, I just got a little unruly. I just think I need to get out of here and go have a cocktail and then go back to the hospital to visit my dad. Please send me well wishes for my sweet dad. He's in the hospital. We're all rooting for him. He's a wonderful man. My father is the man who equals what Las Vegas is to me. So he's, yeah. So send me love.
He's got an equal love for Vegas.
Yeah. Aww. All right. Let's answer a few questions and then we will get off of here so I can go check on my daddy. Okay. Oscar, good morning from someone who is in DOGE's crosshairs. Oscar, I'm so sorry to hear that, my love. We're wishing you the best and hope that you are not affected by their decisions and definitely want to know that we're rooting for you. We love you, man. Yeah. Neil says it's Saturday at 7 a.m. in the part of the world that I am. Good morning from the Northwest Pacific.
Oh,
Neil,
good morning,
hope you
Neil.
lasted through that chaos that we just went
Yeah.
through. Hello, Matt Smith. Hello. Good to see you again. Metal Bill. This will be good. I hope it was good. I don't know if it was good or if it was just like a hot mess, but we were excited to bring it to you. Joe said we're amazing. Look at this. Hey, Joe. I wake up eager for my future move to Las Vegas. Jay, not Joe. Jay. Yes, sorry. Jay, that looked like an O to me.
It
Jay,
did to me too.
I love that.
No,
I'm excited for you to move to Vegas too.
I know.
I
Let's
love
talk.
that. What are your thoughts on Las Vegas being most unstoppable housing market? Neil, are you trying to give me something easy? Unstable or unstoppable? I want to say both. I think it's an unstoppable housing market.
Yeah, you had your words.
I think my brain is fried. I haven't slept in like 5 days, guys. So I'm going to say I think it's an unstoppable. That's actually my answer. I think it's an unstoppable housing market, at least for the short term. Our short time being of the next 3 to 5 years. We are seeing incredible growth. I don't believe it's unstable. The reason I don't believe it's unstable is just simply the things that we talked about before. In inventory, the massive amounts of people flooding to Las Vegas from California specifically, not even due to those LA fires, unfortunately. But now because of that, it's adding increased insult to injury. It's increasing those numbers. We've added almost 1 million new people to the city in almost 9 years. And we are continuing that process. It's not stopping.
You could usually tell based on how much the phone's ringing. The phone's ringing.
I'm off the hook. So unstoppable is my answer to your unstable housing market question. You can read the next one because my eyes are not working right now. Oh, thank you for being so helpful. Oh, and I could read.
Oh, we have an eye problem.
Yeah, man. When you haven't slept in a while, this bright screen.
It affects your head, right? And then you see it in everything.
I'm seeing halos. Hi, Sammy. Love you, babe. I hope you're feeling better. Sammy got sick over the weekend. Poor girl.
I hope you're better.
Hope you're feeling better. Sin City. I just bought a car and the dealer called me back this week offering $2,000 more than what I paid for it. Offering $2,000 more than what I paid for it. They want to buy it back already. Dang. Car market's going crazy.
Is it? I didn't realize that.
It's a little weird right now. Boomer, happy freaking Friday, Boomer. I hope you sat through that. I hope you guys understood the whole DOGE conversation. But the Fed rate has nothing to do with rates for mortgages. That's correct. Let's talk about that for a second. Can you reiterate that? How the Fed does affect the housing rates?
Okay, so remember the Fed has a couple tools in their tool belt, as Jerome Powell put it, right? So that when they lower the rates, it's that short-term rates. So that's why we talked about how the last time they lowered the rates, that rates actually went up. But that's because on their dot plot map that shows the future of what rates are going to do, they lower the amount of rate cuts that they're going to be doing for the previous year. So that affected the market.
Right.
So they're lowering the rate doesn't affect our long-term rates, but them messing with the mortgage-backed securities do.
Yep.
And then also them lowering the rates affects the stock market and that just the overall like look of the future.
Yep.
And that was what affects our long-term rates.
It's a domino effect. It's a domino.
Definitely has like a circle effect.
Right.
It affects us in a negative or
good point though.
way.
Thank you, Neil. We appreciate you trying to call us out.
You always bring up the best things, Neil.
I married the house, but I don't want to date this rate forever. Girl, I get you. I feel you.
We're going to let you know as soon as those rates go down.
Listen, ladies, if you're in a position to buy now. Listen to these ladies. That says that, right? I'm not just making that up. That says listen to
you
these
read
ladies.
It right.
Oh my God, I need glasses, I think. Am I getting old? Jonathan says, I'm sorry to interrupt, but good to see you both here. And I'm glad you're talking about this. Looking forward to watching it later.
Look at you. You read that perfectly.
Jonathan, I know. I think I cleared the blah, blah, blah.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Matt says he thinks the tariffs might also make builders build smaller homes to keep costs down. I don't know if I necessarily agree. What are your thoughts on that? Because the costs are the costs, right? Whether you're building a 5,000 square foot house or a 25,000 square foot house, the costs are the costs are the costs.
I don't know that there'll be the amount of how like the size of the houses is going to be what people are looking for. The smaller houses they could be like, so, I mean, just not to go off topic, but in Vegas, we also have a land problem too.
Yeah.
Right. So people are going further and further out to be able to build the houses. So it's a little bit further. So, so like smaller houses, affordable houses, like I think the affordability, I'm going way
I think
off.
affordability is going to raise no matter, or not affordability, but I think the costs are going to raise no matter.
Multifamily housing, like.
All right, I think we're back. Well, that was fun. Don't you love when you freeze making a funky ass face? I love that. I'm always like, anyway, what we were saying is we think affordability for houses is going to become more difficult in the future. We do see that, but I don't know that the size of the houses.
I don't know if the tariffs will affect the size of that. That's a good point. It's a good point though.
Could be right.
I haven't thought about that. So good point.
Jay said we're dropping gems. Really, Jay? Thank you so much. Because I really felt like we were definitely like I was off unhinged today. I think I just need a nap, honestly, is where I'm at right now. Let's see. He said, huh? I don't know. Pies. Oh yeah, he was laughing at me saying the pie thing. I hope you guys got it. Laci and Syndicate sitting in a tree, KISSING. Okay, what's up? All right. Let's see. Metal Bill says, I like Laci more now than ever. What's up, Metal Bill? What's up? I'm getting a lot of pies. People, did you guys, pies and pens, they're taking notes. Like, you guys, seriously, thank you for sticking with us. I genuinely was mostly joking through most of this about like how upset I was about how we're not smart enough to do whatever. But I do feel like we're making some good points. If you hung with us, you are our people. We love you.
You are our people, yeah.
Okay. And listen, Matt's saying, if you can afford it, you should buy now. And we agree with you guys. Please click the link in the description, the link in the pinned comment. There's a phone number right now. I'm going to put it back on the screen. Boom. There's a phone number right there. Call me. Let's go. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let's see. Neil says your average home size has decreased over the last couple of years across the country. Not here in, well, it does decrease. They're trying to put more homes on the land that they buy, right? So maybe that's what that ties to what he was saying.
The new construction, they're building smaller.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point, Neil.
Yeah.
And so that kind of links back to that. I don't know that tariffs are the reasoning. I think it's just overall costs in general, like cost of land and maximizing that dollar and people getting a little bit less for their dollar for sure. So and Neil goes, and I thought that the freezing was my internet problem. No, it's just ours. No problem. It's actually extremely windy in Las Vegas today. If you don't live here, cold and windy. I love being in this beautiful tower above downtown Summerlin where we get to look out over the gorgeous city and not feel it until I go back to my car.
I know you have to walk. The problem with the tower is it's a long walk.
It's a long walk to the car. Yes. Not an ivory tower. This is a glittered tower. This is glitter and neon, and we're having a good time. Thank you guys for hanging with us. Thank you for my father's well wishes. I'm going to head back to the hospital now. We're going to see how he's doing.
I hope he's doing better.
He means Las Vegas to me, guys. So I need all the Las Vegas love surrounding him, lifting him up, supporting him, and honestly, some love for me too, because this girl needs a nap and a glass of wine.
You need some sleep.
I did see this person said, wine with Laci? ? Oh, this is sweet. Jay, sending all blessings and prayers to Papa McCarty. Thank you, my love. I love you, Laci. Thank you. Oh, Metal Bill. Thank you. I'll have wine with you. I'll have wine with you too. In fact, I'm going to go buy wine right now. Actually, I'm taking wine back to the hospital with me. Jay says wine with Laci. I think we should do a definite wine meetup. I know you don't drink, but I think we should definitely do a wine meetup. You could pour. Would you pour?
Oh, I would
pour and cut the cheese and the meats. We're gonna do a wine charcuterie.
Pour in the cheese cutter. That sounds fun.
Thank you guys all for your love. Really, really. Oh, this is sweet. Much love. Have a good day. Same to you guys. Seriously, at the end of the day, we are so grateful to be able to come to you every single week, and we are so grateful that you trust us with your journey to Vegas or your journey to home ownership. We are a judge-free zone. It's emotional. Go ahead.
I mean, it's an emotional buy, and we do appreciate, and we'll always be here for you too. I mean, like,
we're here to make you laugh at it, because are we taking ourselves too seriously?
Feel good along the journey, right?
You know what we should do is do a fake freeze at the very end, like the ugliest face we can make before we. I'm kidding. We've already seen that today. Shout out to my friend who gave me a little bit of a reason to come here hot today. A little bit of a reason to bring my beef.
And you're trying to get me hot too.
I'm like, you said what? I can't talk about the Fed. How about we know what the Fed is, and everybody else knows what the Fed is, and F you, buddy. But no, my friend is amazing, and I'm grateful for everybody who's supporting what we're doing here. We genuinely care about you landing safely when you get here. We genuinely care about you knowing what you need to know. We don't want you to listen to everyone. We do want you to listen to us, only because we're funny and not experts, but we're doing a damn good job of getting close. So thank you for putting up with me and using your glasses today, because mine aren't working.
My eyesight's bad.
All right, we gotta go.
Hey, there's no putting up with you. Thank you for being amazing.
I love you guys. I'm gonna get on a unicycle like Jerome Powell and balance some more pies.
You should do like a reel like that. That'd be
I'm doing funny. It. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend. I will see you next Friday at 6 p.m. Ask me anything. It's gonna be the What the F market update. This girl's gonna be on vacation, a very well-deserved vacation. Mwah. Happy